Thanks to the supporters of channel member Family Vibes. Right, I'm officially going for it. We've just smashed our transfer record on our first ever elite player. Hello and welcome to part 142 of Wembley to Wembley. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we play Barcelona in the Champions League. You know what? We'll play Liverpool in the Champions League as well, because why not? Since you were last with me, form has been pretty good. We've had the one defeat against Arsenal in the league. Also dropped a couple of points here and there against Brentford and Man City, but the Premier League table is looking pretty good. Just after the halfway point of the season, we're fourth in the league, but with at least 2 games in hand on everybody above us. We're 8 points off the top of the league. If we win our 2 games in hand, we're only 2 points behind Chelsea. We'd go above Newcastle. We'd go 1 point behind Man City. We're in the title race, is what I'm getting at. We are very much in this title race, and that is exactly where we want to be. Not only that, we're doing very well in the Champions League. A win here against Barcelona, which is no mean feat, but a win against Barcelona should see us skip straight through the next round into, what does that get us, the last 16, I think? And possibly more excitingly than either of those things, we now have an elite player as well. I'll show you him in a second. First, I'll show you how we afforded him. First, Willy Hulch, who we signed in the summer. He got in a grumpy and decided he wanted to leave almost immediately. Was homesick. We've had to send him back to France. We've taken a big loss on him. I think that's the first significant loss we've made on any player in the save, but couldn't really be avoided. He just wanted to leave. But Rube Meulemans has gone to Al Qadisiyah in Saudi Arabia. We signed him for £14.5 million at the end of his loan from Derby. He never really established himself as a regular starter once joining permanently. Or to be fair, never really ever. He only started half the games the year he was here on loan. But we've made a nice profit on him, £24.5 million. He's had a nice big pay rise. So he's happy, we're happy. And we also sold Maxim Buriak, who, if you remember, we brought in for £7.25 million, never really used, paid him 120 grand a week to not use him. But we've sold him on a slight transfer profit. Obviously, ignore the fact we gave him 120 grand a week for a year. He's taken a massive pay cut. He's on half the wages he was on with us to go to Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday had 2 centre-backs taken off them by us this summer just gone, so had the money to invest in him, and he's gone to go and play in the Championship. And also Paul Williams, who in the last episode looked like he was having a little bit of a resurgence, didn't. He's joined Sheffield Wednesday on loan and will be joining them permanently in the summer. It adds up to like £30 million for a player we brought in on a free transfer and never got into double figures. Can't really argue with that. So the elite player that we brought is another centre-back. German Starico, an Argentinian international. He's 28, so absolutely at his prime. 71 caps for Argentina. Look at the pace on this guy as a centre-back. I mean, he is a rapid centre-back. This is why I'm spending £70 million on this guy. Not just because he is an elite centre-back. He's 4.5 stars of current ability, which makes him way better than anyone else we currently had. To get that kind of pace on a centre-back is absurd. He is going to be very, very useful in the Champions League. Crystal Palace had him nearly 10 years, buying him from Argentina for £6 million, and played for them in the Premier League for years. Dropped down to the Championship when they got relegated. So it's another relegated centre-back. Our centre-back partnership will now be 2 defenders who were both relegated from the Premier League last year. Mane, who of course we brought in from Sheffield Wednesday. Starico, we've brought in from Crystal Palace. And then we've also got the other guy. Where is he? Rath, who's the youngster that we brought in from Sheffield Wednesday as well as a relegated centre-back. We've got some relegated centre-backs at the club now. But we also have a little bit of money still left to spend. We're looking at a striker. So potentially this guy to replace Williams, and then potentially a fullback. And I'm thinking a left back might be more useful than a right back. There's just no good left backs out there. We've also turned down a £40 million offer from AC Milan for Fanimo. We've agreed he wants to go. We've agreed if they give us 63 million, he can go. He's only started 3 games this season, so really 40 million we probably should have taken. But we kind of need him as cover in midfield rather than at centre-back. At centre-back, we've got absolutely loads of depth. We don't really need him there anymore. but in midfield, he's first reserve effectively. So all of that means the team for the game against Barcelona looks like this. We have got BIE in goal. We actually spent quite a long time playing Beswick in between the two episodes. He started 8 games. He was no better. I think this is probably our first choice keeper for now. I do want a proper one. Can't find one. So for now, we're making do with what we've got. And then the back four, and Gessen, Mane, Starrico and Diaz. I think that is a Champions League winning back four. I think that is about as good as we're going to get. And Gessen is wanted by, I was hoping he was going to be wanted by someone good. It's only Aston Villa. I think that's a real top level back four. Christodoulou and Sabatino in midfield are also great. Renault, Lambert and Paranos. Unfortunately, Ansong has got a virus and is going to miss the next, well, he's missed the last couple of weeks, going to miss another week or so. And then Belkacemi up front is scoring a decent number of goals, as is Salaver. Salaver's had a little bit of a run in the team as well, and has got 12 goals in all competitions, but neither of them are the 30-goal a season striker that I think we need. I know I said in the last episode we needed a proper goalkeeper and a proper striker. That is still the plan, and I know I've just spent almost our entire budget on a defender when we already had lots of defenders, but I did sell 2 to buy him, and I mean, it was an opportunity to bring in an elite level player. I couldn't really resist bringing in a player. I mean, he's so much better, star rating wise, so much better than anyone else we've got at the club in any position. He's just come straight in as our best player. And I think if you get the opportunity to bring in someone who just joins and becomes the best player at the club, it doesn't really matter what position they're in, how strong you are in that position already. You bring in the guy who's going to come in and be your new best player, because that just improves everything around the club. But the search for a goalkeeper and striker does continue, although the goalkeeper search might have to wait until the summer now, because if we spend all our money on this striker that we're looking at to replace Williams, we're not going to have any left for a goalkeeper, especially if we bring in another fullback as well. Vaughan might be on his way out. Vaughan has been removed from the Champions League squad because we can't fit him in, so if we do bring in another fullback, it makes room for Vaughan to leave, but obviously then it's another player who probably can't fit in the Champions League squad, so we do have to be wary of that. It would make sense to still look to bring in youngsters, but we're now at the point where we've probably got 18 months of save left. Any 18-year-olds we bring in now, and not going to benefit me. I've decided I'm retiring at the end of next season, so I need to build a team for now, not a team for the future. Belkacemi, lovely turn for him, and I tell you what, maybe he will be the guy after all, because he's just scored a lovely goal against Barcelona. You don't come to the new camp and score a goal like that if you're not a world-class striker. This is lovely stuff from him. Lovely work from Angessen again, intercepting Lambert, playing it into Belkacemi, takes one touch to create himself loads of space, and then on his weaker foot, plays it across the Barcelona keeper to temporarily at least send us top of the Champions League. And as far as I'm concerned, if we finish top of the league stage, there's no reason why we can't go on and win it. You've already seen us beat Bayern Munich in this competition. If we can now come to Camp Nou and pick up a victory here as well, and then potentially beat Liverpool in our final Champions League game, if we can beat that kind of caliber of club, we can win this competition. And wouldn't that be a lovely way to end the save with a Champions League win? I mean, I'll do the Champions League win this year, and then next year we'll win the Premier League in our first year playing at Wembley Stadium, and we'll celebrate on the Wembley pitch winning the Premier League as reigning Champions League champions, and that'll be a perfect end to the series. What I'm hoping for. We're 2-0 up. You saw us do this against Bayern Munich in the last episode. Take an early lead, and we just seem to want it more than these big fancy teams. I don't know if it's a similar thing to what we were seeing when we first arrived in the Premier League, and they're just not taking us seriously because our reputation is low. I think we do still benefit from that a little bit. We talk on Twitch quite a lot. By the way, I'm streaming regularly on Twitch again. Come and watch that, twitch.tv/LOLLUJO, highlights on the LOLLUJO too. But we do talk occasionally on Twitch about how weird it was that year we won the Champions League with Tor, how underpowered that team was for a Champions League win. And part of me does wonder if we maybe benefited from low reputation, like we perhaps are with Wembley now. And maybe the AI does play rotated teams and does play weakened teams, even in big Champions League games, if it thinks that it's a game that they should win comfortably. I don't know for sure. Obviously, we're 20 plus years in the future. I have no idea who should be in Barcelona's starting 11. But we're 3-0 up in the first half. We are absolutely ruining them. So I find it hard to believe this is their full strength team. Although, to be fair, where are they? They're down in 14th place. This isn't an all-conquering Barcelona team. This is a 20 years in the future Barcelona team who maybe just aren't as good as we are. There's always that. We don't know how good the Spanish league is now. It is a league we've got loaded, so it's not that Spanish football in general should have just wilted and died. The major European leagues are loaded, but we might just be better than them. Maybe the Premier League is so good now that the best teams in the Premier League are better than the best teams in Spain. Although we saw last season, look at that from Starrico, that's what we spent all that money on. We saw last season in the Champions League, there wasn't much in the way of Premier League representation as we got into the business end of the competition. So it's probably not that. I think we're just doing very well. We're better than Barcelona. I like that. That's a nice situation to be in as Wembley Football Club. And they have got a goal back. And this is exactly how it happened against Bayern Munich. This seems to be the shape of a Wembley game in the Champions League. We take an early lead. The big traditional fancy team realise what's going on and then start reacting to it. They've had one shot on target and scored. That seems like a very familiar story as well. We've got to stop conceding every shot on goal that the opposition have. We'd be so much more comfortable if we stopped doing that. Goodness me, I wish we'd stopped doing that. But they are knocking the ball around. They're playing like Barcelona now, and was that a save? No, it's hit the post. I thought that was BIE actually making a really, really good save. And talking of players who are doing really good, Lambert, having probably his best game in a Wembley shirt, he's struggled a little bit from coming in and Ansong being as good as he's been. He's not really had the opportunity to play. But starting in a big game away against Barcelona, and he's been the best player on the pitch for either team. So shows just how good our strength in depth is now. That's a guy that struggles for game time, and he's been able to come in and be absolutely superb. Right, Fanimo is going to come on. That's why he's here. We need him as that first reserve. And we'll bring Agume on to play right back. Agume probably finally going to be losing his spot after the arrival of Starrico. I know some of you have had it with him for a little while. You finally get your way. Right, Lip. Are we really bringing Lip on to play in midfield? It's a bit risky. But if you're going to sign these youngsters, you've got to play them. And it's not like we've got loads of other options in central midfield. So Lip is going to come on and play. And hopefully we're not weakening the team too much by doing it. I mean, we don't seem to be giving over loads of possession. Lambert is tiring, so Salaver can come on. Renault can come off. Sorry, we'll bring Williams on for him, I think, and put Paranos over onto that side because Van Wyck is not fully fit. So I think I'm better off bringing on Williams, who can just be Williams again now. Now Paul Williams has left the club. Rob Williams just becomes Williams, although he's still Williams for now. His shirts have already been printed. Williams has got in behind here, plays it across a second time. The keeper just can't deal with it. Fanimo heads it back towards Salaver. Paranos with the shot, and it goes behind for a corner. But we look like we probably should have grabbed another goal there just to finish things off. I hope we don't let Barcelona back into this game. Aiming for Mane at the near post, can't find him. Paranos now trying to keep the move going. Plays it back to Starrico. What on earth is he doing on the ball just there? I mean, he's an elite level player. He can have the ball wherever he wants and do whatever he wants with it. He's not had a earth-shatteringly good game, but this is his club debut. He signed before our FA Cup game we've just played, but he was cup tied in the FA Cup. So it's quite the place to come and make your debut. He's been playing in the Championship all year, and he's just slotted into our back four away from home against Barcelona and not looked out of place. So I think that in itself shows just how good he is. Right, we'll play Bromley off camera. We will be back for Liverpool, which will be our final Champions League game. We have qualified straight into the last 16, but we want to test ourselves against Liverpool, or do we? Actually, should we do that off camera and do Newcastle in the Premier League? We'll do Newcastle in the Premier League. I think that's probably a more important game at this point. More transfer shenanigans. I just can't resist, boys and girls. Agume has gone. I am sad about it. He was our captain. I did love him. But he's gone on a £2 million loan to Sporting, with also a £33 million optional future fee. So fingers crossed they take him permanently. That's an incredible deal if we can get that kind of money for him. only cost us 10 million. He served us very well, but we've now moved beyond him. And we've used that money to bring in George da Costa, who's a 24-year-old Spanish right back, can also play, or we're training him to also play left back. He's another out-and-out fullback, similar to Diaz, who we brought in the summer, who we're also training to cover left back and centre back. We just want good strength in depth everywhere. Da Costa was at Leipzig, previously of Real Zaragoza. Not saying it right. No, I'm not saying it right. And then we have our striker, Evra Yorakju. Evra, he is, I mean, he's cost us £50 million, but he's got 16 goals in 17 games for Galatasaray this season. He's been rattling in the goals in Turkey for years. He's a proper goal scorer. He's fast. He's everything I look for in a striker. He might be the one. We might finally have our striker. And I think we are now just about spent up. Well, I'm going to keep trying because I want this guy. I want him as like depth on left back, left wing, because that then allows Nguesson to sometimes play on the left wings. We don't have a lot of depth on the left wing, but he could play in either of those positions. We've got some good boys and girls. We've also continued winning. We beat Bromley in the FA Cup. We beat Liverpool in the Champions League. So we did finish the league stage of the Champions League top. I want to win the Champions League. I am happy to go out and say it. I want to win the Champions League this year. But you know what? I also want to win the Premier League. And now we play Newcastle. We're 8 points behind them. No, 7 points behind them with 3 games in hand. So they are a team we can catch. They've won the Premier League the last 3 years in a row. If we're serious about being in a title race, we have to win this game. And this is the team we're putting out there to do it. It's BI in goal, a back four of Nguesson, Mane, Starrico and Da Costa. Starrico, by the way, new vice-captain. Belkacemi is our new captain. Expect Starrico to take over when Evra becomes the starting striker and Belkacemi inevitably goes off to play in Saudi Arabia. But for now, Starrico is vice-captain, Christodoulou and Sabatino in midfield, Renault, Ansong and Paranos behind Belkacemi up front. Evra, who's only just arrived, is on the bench but ready to come on should we need him. But Belkacemi's been in fantastic form at the moment, so I don't need to be forcing him out the door. And hopefully the fact that he is now club captain will inspire him to put on a match-winning performance against the Newcastle team that has dominated the Premier League for the last 3 years. Obviously, they lost their manager, Vincent Kompany, who went to Chelsea in the summer. And Chelsea are now level on points with Newcastle at the top of the league. Clearly, Vincent Kompany, very good manager. Just ask Burnley fans. Really good football manager. That's why Bayern Munich stole him from Burnley after he overperformed so much there. Da Costa, lovely work from him. Da Costa and Starrico, the 2 new boys. Like to see them linking up. Ansong is now recovered from his virus. Crosses in for Belkacemi, and he needs to score every opportunity he gets, because if he doesn't, we've got a new boy that we just spent £50 million on, who is itching to get out there and get started. But for now, we've got to ease him in gently. Paranos, charging past his man as if he's not there. He's gone a little bit far infield, but then cuts back out again. That was a lovely, mazy run. I mean, maybe he should have just tried to set up a goal, but he very nearly scored a wonder goal. Sabatino, now with the in-swinging corner, looking for Mane. He gets a contact with it, but the Newcastle defender is there with him and manages to head it away after Mane had basically headed it into him, tried to head it through him. But we are a threat from these set pieces. Mane is a big, strong boy and is a proper goal-scoring threat from those situations. Not quite to the extent that Fanimo used to be, but Fanimo has just got to accept that he's a reserve now. I mean, if Milan want to come in and offer me 40 or 50 million for him again so I can get that left back, you know where I am, Milan. I might even offer him. Do I risk upsetting him by offering him? We don't have a huge amount of midfield depth if we let him go. We'd need to get the left back and probably another midfielder, and it starts to become a lot of January transfers, and you're only allowed to do 3 changes, I think, to a Champions League squad. So we do run the risk, if we do too many more transfers, of not being able to register every year. Oh, by the way, there was another new boy who came in. I didn't mention him because it was arranged back in the summer, but Damien Gerrard has arrived, 18-year-old French centre-back, who's going to be a star. Probably not until after I retire. He's going to be a star for Tom Best, but will become a homegrown player at the club, which I'm sorting my buddy Tom out. I want Tom Best to have the best opportunity to take this team on and become the dominant team in English football after I've retired. Bless him. I love Tom Best. If Tom Best doesn't become the full-time manager, then Football Manager has a lot to answer for. He's been here so long. He's been assistant manager for so long. He deserves it. That's very poor from Sabatino. And, I mean, good recovery work from Starrico to doing enough to put the Newcastle player off. But that was chaos from Sabatino. That was a good reason to not get rid of my backup midfield player, because there's going to be times when I need him. And right now, Sabatino is tiring and starting to play loose balls. So it might be time to take him off and get Fanimo on. Paranos wins the ball back and plays it forward. We are going to make that change amongst others. Sabatino is going to come off for Fanimo. We'll swap those two over. And I think we are going to get Evra on. We're going to have a look at the new boy. It's a little harsh on Salivert because Salivert been scoring goals this season. But I want to see the new boy. You want to see the new boy. We have to make that change. And Rob Williams can come on as well. I think we're also, because we're trying to win a football match, going to switch those two around to the Anchorman Segundo Volante partnership that they used last year to such great effect. Mane playing it forward to Evra. There you go. There's your first look at new boy Evra. Christodoulou back to Fanimo. Look at how far apart they are. This is why I like this as a combination in midfield. Fanimo takes a very heavy touch, then plays it into Evra, who goes past his man, and Evra scored inside a minute of his debut. We might have our star. We might have the solution to our goal-scoring problems. That was a wonderful goal. Brilliant work from Fanimo in the setup for it. Completely different profile of midfielder to anyone else we've got, but that's such a great first touch from Evra. One touch, then the finish, but that one touch took it away from two Newcastle defenders. And remember, this is the Newcastle defence that's won 3 Premier Leagues in a row. And the movement and the touch there, this is a boy who's in form, has been scoring goals for fun in Turkey this season, and he is just in form and confident. And I think we need to get him in the team pronto. Poor old Belkacemi got half an hour as club captain and regular starting striker, and now he's done. We're done with him. Right, let's get Lambert on because Ansong is tiring. And this is where I want that left back, because I want to take off Renault here. And I'd push Nguessen forward, but I guess I could. But it's probably more important to shore up the defence, bring Diaz on. But I would like that extra player, that extra left back. Can never have too many left backs as far as I'm concerned. So 3 points here still doesn't put us into the top 4, but it puts us only 5 points off the top of the table with a win over the 3 times back-to-back champions on the board. So I think sets us up very nicely for the second half of the season. Diaz doing good right there, then shoots from range, and the keeper can only just push it around the post. And we've got another opportunity from the set piece. And of course, Fanimo is on the pitch now and is always a threat from these situations, as is Mane. It looks like it's Mane who's lining up at that near post. Fanimo's taking a position at the far post. It's aims for Mane. I can't help but think you probably aim for Fanimo there because of his previous from scoring so many important goals in those situations. Good work from Lambert, who's had a good episode. Lambert's looking good, but I think we might be holding on here. We've got another corner. Aim for Fanimo on this one. Come on. Fanimo's right there at the far post. Aim for him. I suspect we're going Mane again. We're taking our time over it, which we're in the 92nd minute at 1-0 up is not a bad idea. It is Mane! But his header goes just wide. He actually gets a proper contact with it that time, but can't test the keeper. And I think that should be that. I'm declaring us part of this title race, folks, because if we have a look at that league table after that result, yes, we're down in 5th place, but with 3 games in hand on Bristol City, 1 on Man City, 3 on Newcastle, 1 on Chelsea. We're in that title race. I want to win the league. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.